Welcome me, David Secondo.
Let me show you. Oh, I don't need the mic. So he got that a little, he was almost right there. It's life and business coach, but he knows that I'm in the health field. I've been working in the health and wellness field for a couple of years. So welcome everyone. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful. And you might have seen we're having some technical difficulties there, so I'm just ditching the PowerPoint and going straight on. Yeah. So what I was going to talk to you about today is productivity, integral productivity specifically, which is a program my company has developed. And I wanted to see how many of you get distracted.
What?
Raise your hand. Keep your hand up if you have been distracted at some point today. And keep it up if you've been distracted at some point in the past hour. In the past half hour? 10 minutes? Last minute? The last 11 seconds? It's funny because it's true, right? Research actually shows we get distracted every 11 seconds. Distracted or interrupted. And from those distractions, we lose 1/3 of our workday. It takes 1/3 of our time to recover from those distractions. You might be thinking, that's crazy. But if you think about it, it makes sense. It's based on the level of complexity of the distraction. So some things are just a simple, phone call, yes or no answer, right? And you can get back onto your email, for example. Or there might be something that comes up that's a fire that you have to put out. Or something that overwhelms you. Sometimes we get emotionally triggered, we get emotional overwhelmed, emotionally hijacked by things. We can get stuck in a small world of stress and fear or all kinds of overwhelms and things like that. Now this really struck me a couple weeks ago when I noticed, and I've noticed this a couple times in the last few months, is that I was crossing the street, I was in a parking lot of a coffee shop in Boulder. I was giving a talk in Boulder. And there was a child walking with his mother, and he had his phone or whatever, iPad thing, and he was just playing a game walking across the parking lot, trying to cross the street. The mother had his hand, and she's saying, Johnny, look out for the cars. We're trying to, look out for the cars. We're trying to cross the street here. You have to be safe. But she didn't take away his screen, right? So he's just going like this. And I just thought that was really, I've seen that twice now in the past couple months. I think that's just really telling of the times that we're in right now. There's a lot of distraction, there's a lot of overwhelm, there's a lot of information overload coming from all directions. And a lot of it comes from technology, and there's nothing wrong with that. Technology is wonderful, it serves many great purposes. But my thing is to really help people not get off, be able to get back on track. A lot of people, we have these goals, we have these life visions, but constantly we can keep getting tripped up and we can keep not being able to fulfill those visions, right? So the classic picture that I have of these overwhelms and these stressors, raise your hand if you get stressed. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Well, as you know, stress also puts us into a tough situation. The brain is not able to access our higher level thinking when we're stressed. So we don't have access to that ability to make these decisions, to be creative, to really access the big picture stuff in the heat of the moment, right? So the program that my company has developed is integral coaching. We combine three things. First is, integral productivity. First is integral coaching. Second is mindfulness. And third is productivity skills. Because we found that, on one hand, the traditional productivity approach is that you teach people skills. You teach people things to get things done, right? And then on the other side, you have the holistic folks, which I'm kind of more in that camp, that's really get settled, get centered, maybe even take a break from what you're doing so that you can get clarity on the situation, and then come back at it with a fresh mind. Now the problem is those two camps don't always talk to each other. Because it doesn't really make sense. Logically, there's kind of a fundamental gap there. Go, go, go. Do more, do more, do more. Take a break. Do less. Sit back. Do less, basically. Do more, do less. Inside, we have something that's going like this, right? So how can we bring those two together? To be able to bring those two together, first thing we have to do is look at the definition of productivity. Now, most traditional definitions define it as getting more, basically, when you put it all together and refine it down, is basically getting more done in less time. Getting more done in less time. Do you think that that really serves us? Yeah, right? Let's go, let's do it. Because when you look at the information overload that we have going on right now, there's so much to choose from. I can choose to get a lot done that's not going to mean very much, right? I can choose to play on Facebook all day. I can choose to shoot out a bunch of tweets. I can choose to, just distract myself to no end. I could be getting things done, but are those quality things? Are those things that are going to move my life and my business forward? I don't think so. And I think that we can get caught in that trap of feeling very accomplished because we did a lot of things in a day. But those things didn't necessarily move us forward. So instead of looking at just getting more done in less time, I want to look at it from the point of getting more important things done consistently, not just in less time, but those more important things, getting them done with the highest quality. So we have to look at a couple things there. So I just expanded that definition of getting more things done in less time to getting more important things done with higher quality. So how do we know what are the more important things? That's a good question, right? And that's where we have to tap into a couple different things. Our internal state, what really matters to us, our values, and then also how we want to live our life, how we want to move our business forward, our life forward. But also, really, what are the things that are going to be able to do that? So I have a couple tools that I want to show you today, and to be able to give you a background on that, I want to show you just how this model works, how it fits together. So I told you there's two camps. That traditional camp of building skills to be able to get things done quicker, and the other camp of the holistic experiential, where it's really looking at taking, a bigger perspective and things like that. So I'm going to show you the integral map. This is what we use in integral coaching, based off of Ken Wilber's work. Raise your hand if you've heard of Ken Wilber. Yeah, okay. A few women in Canada developed this coaching model that brings together the best of developmental psychology and change research, and she put all of this into the integral framework that Ken Wilber developed. It's really fascinating. So we have 4 quadrants. In the upper left, we have self, and then here is groups. Okay? So that's going to go across this way. On the top, we have the internal aspect and the external aspect. Okay, so upper left quadrant, internal self. These are things like our beliefs, our values, self-reflection, the internal things that matter most to us. Right? Makes sense, right? Internal self. External self. These are things that can be viewed, things that can be measured. These are things like results that we produce, things that taking action, measurables. So these are things that you notice from that external point of view. You're already noticing the two sides of the equation here. That internal, holistic, experiential side, and then the external, getting things done. Now that's just focused on the individual. But we can also bring this into groups or a bigger picture. So when we're looking at the internal aspect of groups, that's how we interact. That's what's happening between you and I right now. We're interacting. This is basically communication. And if you look at the work of emotional intelligence, that comes into this factor quite a bit. A lot of the emotional intelligence stuff, being able to calm your nervous system so that you have access to that higher level thinking, it takes place up here, but a lot of times we get triggered down here. We get emotionally hijacked down here. Somebody might come to us, we might be driving to a meeting and get cut off on the road and get thrown off, right? Or this thing might go off and we have one of those distractions. Those distractions can lead us in any number of directions. It could, like I said, it could be a simple yes or no, or it could be a life-changing event. It could be really challenging. So we're looking at the interrelatedness of here within groups. Now, the external aspect is really focused on systems. This part can be a little confusing for people sometimes, but it's basically, you could look at systems, when you walked in this room, these are the systems that you can observe. So you walked in this room and everyone, if you hadn't been here before, even if you had, you came in and you're like, oh, okay, what's going on? What's the system here today? How's things set up? I see the tables, I see the chairs, I see the food, I see the stage. You're kind of seeing the flow of things. But from an individual perspective, you can also be looking at the bigger picture. So you might be thinking about, from a business perspective, things like email marketing, what's the system for that? Social media marketing, things like CRM, customer relationship management. These systems that you put together, your accounting system, QuickBooks, all these things that are systems would fit in that area. Now that's a lot of information and you're like, okay, that might be interesting, but what do I do with that? Well, the interesting thing is that everyone actually orients primarily out of one of these quadrants. So even though this is a map of basically, the world or the way things work, it also is an internal map. So I want you to just close your eyes for a second and just look inside and think, where do I orient mainly in this world? When I'm thinking about, a good example is when I want to take action on something. When I want to do something. How do I approach that? Do I look inside first and check in with my values and beliefs before I take action? Do I need to analyze the situation, reflect? Or do I need to get my hands dirty? Jump in there and just do it and learn by doing. Do I need to talk to somebody first? Down here in the lower left quadrant, do I need to get some feedback from others and say, hey, what do you think about this before I take action? Or are you more of a systems person? I want to analyze the whole situation. I'd like to see a report on that. I want to know, what are the numbers and how it all fits together before I just jump into it. I hope you're seeing that all of these are valid ways to approach a situation. And they can all increase our productivity and our performance. The thing is that we all orient out of one of these primarily, and then we tend to leave the other ones dragging. So myself, I orient out of this upper right here. I take action. I learn by doing. If somebody, a great example is a card game. You're playing cards, and if you're learning a new game, somebody's telling you the directions. When somebody's doing that, I'm like, please stop, let's just start playing, and I'll learn it as we go. Because I can't actually take it in. I'm very visual and action-oriented. So when I was going through this, you might be a person here who's more reflective first. You might need to recruit some help and ask for help. Or you might need to see the bigger picture and the systems, how it all works together. The two camps that I was talking about, the holistic experiential versus the traditional productivity tools, it's very simple. Basically, internals over here, that's all holistic experiential, all on the left side. That's inside yourself and that's within with others. Let's get this, let's figure things out here. And then the external is all over here, getting things done in less time. We're utilizing systems, leveraging to make more things happen. So I wanted to talk to you about both of those things today. Where to start? Where to start for that? Okay. If you're going to try to figure out what's the most important thing for you to do at any given moment, the place that I believe that you need to start is with a clear head. So to have a clear head, there's a lot of great practices for that, but the simple one that I've been teaching for about 9 years is called mindfulness. Raise your hand if you've heard of mindfulness. Yeah. It's gotten a lot of press in the last couple of years. They called 2014 the year of mindfulness. It was just everywhere. It was on the cover of Time magazine, Science has been touting it, all these things. Cool thing about it is it's something that you can do anywhere you go, and it fits in with everything else that's out there. You can bring it into your religious practice, you can bring it into your work, you can bring it into your activities, whatever you want. It's really a non-denominational thing. And the definition of mindfulness from Jon Kabat-Zinn, Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's really pioneered the work, is paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment. Yeah. Paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment. So I would love to guide you guys through mindfulness practice. Is that cool? All right. Very nice. And what time am I ending up here?
You have 13 minutes left.
13 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, just take a seat in your chair, relaxed and upright. You can be leaning back or sitting up forward, but an upright spine is key. And just notice your body. Allow yourself to come into your body. You don't have to close your eyes. You can just gaze down to the floor if you'd like. And then notice your breath as it comes down below the navel. You can even take your left hand below the belly button there. Noticing how on the inhale, your belly rises, and the exhale, how it falls. Notice the bodily sensation of your inhale and your exhale as it comes through the nostrils, into the lungs, filling the belly. And as you exhale out into space, notice the air coming out. Notice your feet on the floor. Notice your sit bones in the chair. Notice your connection to the earth. And if your eyes are closed, gently open them. And just come fully present into this room right now. We're not trying to escape into another place. We're coming fully into the present now. Paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment. So just this simple practice, what I just guided you through, just 1 minute, is something that you can bring into your workday at any time, or your life at any time. Taking 3 breaths, something so simple, even just taking 3 focused breaths, just being intentional about it, that will reset the nervous system. It sends a signal to the nervous system that it's okay. We don't need to fight, flight, or freeze. We don't need to protect ourselves. And when the nervous system is aware of that it's okay, that's when we have access to our higher level thinking. That's when we're able to be creative. That's when we're able to think of new ways to approach a situation. You've probably noticed, thanks Malin, you've probably noticed that sometimes you just need to get away from your current situation to get a new perspective on things. Inventors have noticed this. They come up with their greatest ideas sometime, usually when they're not focused on trying to figure it out. Jack Johnson, a famous songwriter, singer, everyone's heard of him. He said all his songs come to him when he's surfing out in the ocean. He's accessing something deeper. Everyone here obviously knows about that, else he wouldn't be at VHS, right? But the cool thing is that we don't need to go surfing. We don't need to jump out of a plane, skydiving, which people get that rush to access that state. That state is called the flow state. And I want to show you a diagram of what the flow state is. So we access that place that we can become centered. Well, what do we do with that? The flow state works on two axes. So we have our skill level in any particular activity, and then we have the challenge. Okay? The way I love to explain this is through the skiing metaphor. How many skiers do we have in the room, or snowboarders? All right, nice. Within skill and challenge is a sweet spot. If your skill meets the level of the challenge, the activity, that puts you in flow. Now, you don't have to be Michael Jordan to be in flow state, okay? You can be a skier on the bunny hill for the very first time. Your skill is very low, but the challenge is very low. But it meets that criteria. You meet in the center, in the sweet spot. Now, if you're on the green trails, you're graduating, you're moving up, your skills are moving up, the challenge is also moving up. The trail is harder, but you can stay in there. The blues, intermediate, black diamond. You're moving up the scale. And this makes sense, right? All the way up to extreme, double black diamond, where you're jumping cliffs, and you're taking a helicopter up to Alaska. But it makes sense, because as you progress, you need a bigger challenge, right? Because if you don't have that bigger challenge, what does it lead to? You're an expert skier on a bunny hill? That leads to boredom. And what's the opposite of that? If you're a beginner and you're placed on top of the peak, fear, terror, exactly. Well, we use the term anxiety, which encompasses all of that. But think about peak performance. I don't just like to talk about productivity. Productivity is kind of a lame word in a way. It's kind of just like, boring productivity. But think about peak performance, optimal performance. This is what it's all about right here. We can drop into that in the present moment, but also we can't always remember to do that. So at any moment, we can access this place. We can think, coming back to the 4 quadrants. I like to transpose this image and put it onto here. I'm not going to have time to do that today. But if you think about the 4 quadrants, what if in any of these you could access that flow state? Or if you normally, like myself, just take action and don't get feedback from others, maybe if you're in a situation where you don't have the skill level, but you're on top of that mountain, and you're stuck in anxiety, and just taking a few deep breaths isn't going to cut it. Maybe I need to call in for help. Right? Maybe I need to ask somebody for some help. Maybe I need, within asking help, maybe I need to ask for help in developing some systems. Right? Or maybe I need to put some systems into place. Like I should have had those systems of learning the, pizza and french fries years ago before I got put on top of that mountain, that double black diamond. So I know I'm cruising through this, but we only have so much time this morning. So far we have mindfulness, we have flow state, and within any activity you can see if the challenge is greater, you need to improve your skill level. If the skill is too great and you're bored, and you just want to sit home and watch TV, well, then you need a greater challenge. Now, this is great for everyone at all levels. The beginner all the way up to the CEO. Because a lot of CEOs are stuck in boredom. They're not just You're not just flipping a lot. They're not just stuck in anxiety with a lot to do. A lot of times they have it down, and they've been doing, they've been doing a great job for years, and they're like, what's next? I'm a high performer, what's next? I need a bigger challenge. Well, if you think about the quadrants, maybe it's delving into your blind spots. Maybe it's delving into those places that you don't normally look into, right? Maybe it's, teaming up with somebody, or maybe it's becoming a mentor. Just being engaged in a new way. I wanted to leave you with one more practical tip today. And that's going to come from that other side of the more traditional productivity tools. So I talked about mindfulness, talked about flow state, talked about the integral map. The one last thing I want to talk to you about is the 80-20 rule. When we're centered and we can have access to what's more important, what's most important at any given moment, then we can have access to leveraging our activities so that they can be more productive. They can give us exponential results, not just these these small results that we feel like we're on a treadmill. And for exponential results, I like to talk about the 80-20 rule. Raise your hand if you've heard of the 80-20 rule. A lot of people have heard of it. If you haven't heard of it, it was developed, stems from Dr. Pareto's work back in Italy in the 19th century. He's an economist. He noticed that 20% of the population owned 80% of the land. And he started to see this pattern. He saw it in his garden. He noticed that 20% of the plants produced 80% of the harvest. He started seeing it all over the place. Now it's become this really popular principle in business that 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. So think about that. What's the opposite of that? 80% of our activities are only producing 20% of our results. When I hear that, when I think about that, every time I say that, it's frustrating. Because it's true. And coming back full circle to the beginning, think about all these distractions, think about the things that we go towards, our default mechanisms. I want to do this big, important project that I know is going to explode my business or my life is just going to be great, but I'm just going to go check Facebook. Or, I'm just going to go work on this thing. I know I should do that, but I could do this. So, the activity that I wanted to guide you through is just to make a quick to-do list. Make a to-do list for your business, whatever you'd like to do. Top 5 things that when you check in deep with your heart, are going to bring exponential results to your business. So just write those down real quick. Top 5 things. Probably the things you've been putting off for a long time. The things that you should do. Okay, of those 5 things, I want you to pick the one thing, even if it's scary. I want you to circle the one thing that is going to exponentially move your business forward. It's the thing that you've been putting off that you should do. Now, what you just did, I would like you to do this every day. And before you do anything else, I want you to take action and work on that one thing. That one thing that's going to exponentially move you forward. When you check in with your heart, when you check in with what you need to do, and maybe you need to recruit some help. Maybe you need to recruit some systems. Maybe you need to just go for it. Maybe you need to, work with somebody who's been there before. There's so many different ways to go about it. We don't need to do this all on our own, right? We really don't. But if you do that every day, I guarantee you'll be producing at a way higher level. You'll be flipping the scales. Instead of doing 80% of things and getting 20% results, you'll be doing those 20% of things, getting 80% of the results more of the time. right? So if you do that first every day, you're going to see huge results. That doesn't mean that you have to finish that activity every day, because it could be a really big thing, right? But even if you just, put a focused amount of time on that, even a half hour, an hour, whatever. So I gave you 5 things, and you picked one thing, so that's 20%, right? Normally, what I would have you do is write all your to-do list, and you can have 20 things, separate them out into could do and should do. 5 out of 20 is 20%, right? But then always break it down to that one thing and take action on that. So I'm running out of time here. I would love to take any questions or anything like that. I know we don't have time for that now, but I'll be over here to answer questions. 3 things to remember. Check in with yourself. Figure out what's most important. And then figure out a system and what needs to be done so that you can turn that 80-20 upside down. I hope you guys got some value today. Hope that helped you out. And thanks for having me.